वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Adorations Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Everyone is aware of the importance of the scripture of the Gita, and I will give you very simple with quotations, highlights. Gita occurs in the great epic work of Mahabharata. And it's in the middle portion of the Mahabharata, the scripture of Gita is presented in the form of dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna, God, Arjuna, the soul. The setting of the Mahabharata, that is the highly poetic and allegorical presentation of the predicament of every human being. The soul in every human being is Arjuna. And Krishna is not far away, not in some other yuga and not some 1,000 years later to come. He is the reality, ever present. When we talk of jiva, the individual soul, think of the soul like a reflected sun in a jar of water. When I talk about God, think of God as the sun. And there are two stages of reality. To the reflected sun, there is day-to-day change. Changes occur in that jar minute after moment. You never know how many little fishes are there, what type of creatures there. The potentiality of the reflected sun, if you can imagine, is beyond imagination. Suppose the reflected sun decides to walk out of the jar. It ascends the thread. Think of an imaginary thread between the sun and the reflected sun. Now the reflected sun has to walk out of the jar. It has to start moving on the string. At every stage, as the reflected sun rises, there is a great thrill. Looks around and sees the glory of the sun manifesting in an amazing way. Previously it was just what was within the jar. But now it is shining in countless jars. And it is beyond the jars, beyond the personalities. Imagine that ultimately you rise to the level of the sun. And then there is no duality. You are never in the jar. You could never be caught. That's one picture. Another, the setting of the Gita. Consider your personality like a chariot. Horses are the senses. Mind is the reins that are handled by chariot driver. And the driver in you, most of the time, is drunk. Or an up-to-date driver, most of the time texting. And that relates to intellect in you. If buddhi, intellect, is not purified, then driver is going to lead you to big trouble. And the soul in you is Arjuna. The destination to reach is liberation. The soul freed of all forms of bondage. The process of moving towards that goal is the battle of life. Life is always struggling. Estoy luchando. We are always struggling. That's a Spanish way of saying. So in the midst of Mahabharata, there comes Gita. Just like if you enter into a park, lots of wonderful things. Then there is a place where there is lake, most beautiful, the stunning beauty, the swan and the amazing beauty around it. And anyone visiting the park sits down and enjoys it. Gita is that type of lake. I'll give you some of the highlights. As you know the story. Arjuna is being led by Krishna. In the beginning of the Mahabharata war, the war is between, on Arjuna's side, there's vast number of people, and the Pandavas, Arjuna and brothers together, there were 5. They all represent virtue, forces of light, the divine aspect. Consider the entire setting is personality. Your personality has a constant war between the divine and the demoniac, between the forces of light and the forces of darkness, between the forces of higher self and the forces of the lower self. And that's called life. When there is no battle, life is dead. It is no life. Arjuna has 7 Akshauhini army. We don't worry about the number. Akshauhini was a vast number. And Duryodhana, the opposite army, Duryodhana is the leader of all the demoniac army. That army is vaster. It's 11 Akshauhini. The ratio is between 7 and 11. 7 on the side of divine, 11 on the side of demoniac. When you look at the world, that's always that ratio. In the beginning itself, Arjuna begins to complain. His mind is directed towards all people around him. And suddenly he remembers how he was a child, and grandfather Bhishma, how he held him in his childhood, how he played in the arms of all those great people. And one thing was absolutely definite, that all those people have to be destroyed in order to attain victory. And so a stunning sense entered into the mind of Arjuna. And he said, it's better to adopt the life of a sannyasi. You renounce, go into somewhere mountains, stay with someone who has biggest beard. I'm just making jokes out. But Krishna scolds him. Klaibhyam ma asmagah partha. O Partha, do not yield to cowardliness. Ashochya nanvashochastvam. You are grieving about things not worth grieving for. And that's the way starts the great teaching of Krishna. Try to reflect upon that statement. Ashochya nanvashochastvam. All the worries and anxieties that assail your mind, they are founded on zero. It's just like you look through a window and see a cloud that you like. It shines bright. But now you have to go on praying. The wind should not carry it away. Things should not change in it. It is making a formation of Om. It should not turn to something else. Not only that, you are going up and down on your chair, getting exhausted. I'm dramatizing. All this is for nothing. Because cloud is cloud, it is going to go away. If you look at the from broad point of view, things that you are remembering from the past, you're saying to yourself, I could have acted better, things would have been changed, different. Though you know very well that you can't go back to the past or can't change it. But worries go on entering the mind. You step up further in a higher level. Your past is as much illusory as your present as well as your future. It's your dream. In your dream, suddenly you come to realize a predicament. Even in your dream, there is a past. That past doesn't relate to the practical reality of the past. Ashochyananda shochastvam. Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. This world is anitya. Anityam is non-eternal. There is no real happiness that you can acquire from the world. Therefore, turn to me, worship me. Now, leading you to some highlights of the scripture. In the first chapter, Arjuna says to Krishna, Yadi mam pratikaram ashastram shastrapanaya dhartarashtrarane hanyus tanime kshemataram bhavet. If the sons of Dhritarashtra, who now hold weapons in their hands, kill me, while I do not resist them, this will be relatively better than my killing them. It seems like a virtue. Here you must realize the term killing and the army and the violence, that is only symbolic. Think of darkness, how much darkness terrorizes people. And human mind creates a lot of imaginations. During dark night you see ghosts, goblins, terrifying creatures all around you. When the sun rises, a tremendous energy, the divine force comes. Now you can dramatize what type of war takes place. The war is most intense. Heads are flying, the bodies are being scattered. But don't get involved, that nothing is happening. Darkness simply moves away. But if that type of description is not given, people will not sit down and be drawn to the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. From ancient times, Vedic rishis chose that strange psychology of describing progress in the terms of battle. You have to have amazing strength and energy. The only way you can understand that language, if someone like Bhima were to lift up a big chariot and throw away, or Hanuman crosses over the ocean. Do not build up that idea that that's real spirituality, that when you attain, move towards God realization, you will meet some angels doing those amazing things. You are not attaining enlightenment for seeing sensational things. What is amazing that your nature changes. All the gross within you, those are the demons. Anger, hate, greed. These demons, they are the basis of all the trouble in the world. Human beings look so simple. But what's operating in their mind? Countless people live a life of stress. It's like forest that has trees that are constantly in friction. And somewhere fire has to blaze. I'm leading you in another direction. The cause of war and disharmony, terror, the cause lies in human heart. Inability to turn towards God within you and thereby to enjoy supreme peace. Inability to be really healthy in a spiritual way. That creates all that is negative in the world. So instead of worrying about the world, we start from within yourself. That's Gita's message. And in the beginning stage, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna not to grieve, because all these people are souls. The bodies perish, but the bodies are not you. The soul is eternal. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्याति संयाति नवानि देहि. Just as a person gives up his old clothes to put on new ones, in the same way the soul within you, soul referring to the jiva that incarnates, which is a ray of God. Just like if you pour a jar has a reflected sun, pour its water into another jar. The reflected sun has gone into another jar. Same way the soul within you moves from one embodiment to another. And it goes on until it has attained enlightenment. I don't want to be in a jar. I am that. When I can shine like that sun, why should I shine for a little fishes and frogs? Why should I be confined? Both choices are yours. You have used the mind in a way that has kept you in bondage. That's called pravritti marga, the path of constant involvement in the world process. Or you can choose not to be confined and realize your essential nature, shining as the sun. And that's the path of nivritti marga, the path leading to liberation. I'm coming to describe that as well. The idea must enter the mind that you are using your body. Your body is just like a cloth. To be more fashionable, you have 3 bodies. Causal body is closest to you. Then there is an astral body, little more fluffy. And then you have physical body, which is like overcoat. And then you have many other things. You may have sticks holding in your hand, things that you depend upon in the world. But all these bodies change. Physical body, especially when person moves from one body to another, physical body is to go first. You continue to have subtle body and causal body with a subtle change until you become liberated. You need no clothes. You are absolute self. Another great statement in chapter 2. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhurma te sangostva karmani. No matter what conditions you encounter in life, your right is only to your karma, your duty, not to the fruits thereof. Go on performing your duty, but do not let your mind be anchored to fruits. That means this is what I want. If I don't get it, I'm not going to do my duty. Rather, the ideal is I am going to do my duty. The result is going to be positive because God is the source of all. But positive may not be the way people expect. So let it be in His hand. But mine is only to perform the duty and do it well. Because the performance of duty is puja, is worship of God. If you are in a temple and trying to offer certain things, you do it with great humility. You don't do it with arrogance. Oh God, I'm giving to you, but tomorrow I will not. That type of spirit, that all the works that you do, physically, mentally, vocally, karma is performed 3 ways. Mental, you are thinking, planning, and sometimes mental work doesn't require a physical instrument. You are sending out goodwill to a friend far away. You are doing a prayer, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, may all be happy. Your body is not involved. Mind has created a karma, and karma will give you its fruit. And the fruit will be, suddenly you realize people all around you find you very lovable. You are a source of friendliness, because that's the type of thought you are allowing in your mind to occur. May all be happy. If you are absolutely perfect, then the entire world becomes your friend. Believe it or not. That's the ideal. You look at the entire world with a friendly eye. The world looks at you, you are the best friend. And that's the reality. It's not something imaginary. That experience is your heritage. That experience is the kingdom of heaven. All religions preach that. Karmanyevadhikaraste, doing your duty, that's your right. Don't set your heart on the fruit. Fruit means that's the result I want. You should not be impelled to act for selfish reasons. Here again, selfish term has to be understood more profoundly. There is always self involved in every work you do. But in order to be truly interested in this, in yourself, you must choose a path that will lead you to liberation. Attaining liberation is the best form of selfishness. When you are selfish, you are not really selfish. Because you are creating karmas that are going to hurt you. What is selfishness in it? Let's not get confused. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. O Arjuna, Arjuna was called Dhananjaya, conqueror of wealth. From a very literal point of view, he brought lot of wealth to the king Yudhishthira. But what it really means is wealth of divine qualities. As your mind moves towards God, your heart becomes a repository of most wondrous wealth, divine wealth, what's known as Daivi Sampat, that also taught in the Gita. And Arjuna is that personality who is ever ready to acquire divine qualities, divine virtues. So, O Dhananjaya, be established in yoga and perform actions devoid of attachment. Be balanced in success and failure. For balance of mind is known as yoga. Your focus is on how can I attain balance, serenity. Serene mind that experiences real joy. So try to be a miser for that particular joy. A miser doesn't care for anything else, he goes after his gold. Much in the same way, create in your mind a profound interest for experiencing spiritual joy, which is different from elation and depression. In the second chapter, which actually gives a summary of the entire Gita, Lord Krishna talks about the characteristics of one who has attained enlightenment. Nowhere does the Lord say that one who has attained enlightenment, he begins to fly, or he walks on water, or he tells the sun, stop from your journey, stay up there until I tell you. That would have been, for the world, that would have been the marvelous attainment. But none of these. Liberated sages possesses an enlightened mind, and so you have to understand the mind. A mind devoid of ego-based desires. And the soul that has intuitive experience, I am that. Now, just to give you some idea, each statement I have said requires a lot of explanation. Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. By constantly dwelling upon objects, one develops attachment to them. When we say objects, all these are to be understood in a different way. Objects, suppose you are sitting and you are thinking of days of your past time when you were very happy and you are thinking of objects. Or you are seated and your mind is just sinking in gloom. That's because your mind is thinking of objects. Your mind is turning towards experiences of bitterness, of negative nature. And all that has created a pressure on your mind, and your mind is sinking. So when we say thinking of objects, you may say, I've been whole day and I have not thought of any object. The object refers to an abstract involvement of the mind moving towards illusions of past, present, and future. So by constantly dwelling upon objects, but now to simplify it, if you want to understand something, if you want to understand the ocean as a scientist, then what you do, just take a test tube and take a little water and analyze it. In the same way, there is an analytical study, and study shows that first your mind turns to the object of concern, object of importance, in a very tender way. But then it goes on repeating it. If intellect has not stopped the mind from doing that, then it repeats it. When you go on repeating the same desire, then in your mind it creates a form of dependence. Dhyayato vishayan sangasteshu upajayati. That's what we call sangha. Sangha is attachment. Attachment is not a physical disposition. You may be sitting close to people, detached. You may be far away from people and objects, and you may be extremely attached. It all depends upon the mental state. As I give very simple illustration, a person walks by and sees a car in somebody's garage and he likes that car. First day he ignores it, second day he goes close to it, watches it. Third day he talks to the owner of the car. Fourth day he gets into his computer and explores all about the car. And now he develops through all this process a strange feeling within himself that he is nothing unless he has that car. He's just a failure. Now the car is the same, but each time he sees the car erects his mind. Car has no power. But you have given that power by constantly creating your illusion within yours. And that applies to all things. All your worries and anxieties, they seem to come from the world. The world has no power. But the way you have gone on thinking within your mind, that has dominated your vision. Therefore, now first let me conclude on this. Krodhat bhavati sam dhyayato vishayan sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kama. When you become mentally dependent, then desires arise. How can I get that? Desires can never be fulfilled the way you desired. Sometimes it can become more. You desired something, you desire only 1 unit, 1x, and fulfillment is 10x. That explodes your mind. Or your desire is frustrated. Or even if you think that desire is exactly the way you have desired, it has been fulfilled. But you never expected that. You never think you deserve it. Therefore, mind becomes elated. Elation is not a healthy state. Being happy is one thing. If you are truly happy, your mind becomes very relaxed. When you are elatedly happy, then your mind is not relaxed. Therefore, immediately you ask people, come join me, have something good has happened, drink with me. The term is used, krodha, here in a special sense. It means agitation. If you go on thinking of the object, you became mentally dependent. As a result, desire arose. Desire led you to certain karmic process. Or rather, the desire created for you experience of elation or frustration. If your mind continues to be under the sway of elation and frustration, your reason didn't have any healthy function. The reason just sits like an old man ignored in the house. Therefore, some moha develops. Your thinking process is not regulated by intellect. Delusion develops. Sammohat smriti brahma. And when delusion has entered your mind, you are not thinking of yourself and what is good for you and who you are in a deeper level. All that healthy memory has gone away. Smriti Branshat Buddhi Nasho. If healthy memory doesn't operate, your intellect becomes as if neutralized. Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. That's the way to heading towards destruction. Now, in the coming chapters, Lord Krishna gives an insight into karma. Karma is of two types, sakamya, nishkamya. Sakamya means karma, all your actions by your mind, by your words, by your physical activity, thought, word and action. All the karmic movement, if that aims at three purusharthas, there are four purusharthas, four values in life: dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Dharma is righteousness. Artha, material value, gaining material needs of your life, material support. Kama, it is called vital value. It gives you a social status, and you become a householder with many services you render to society. You strengthen the society if you are a positive type. And moksha, liberation. But if your goal is not moksha, then generally you choose the three values, but sometimes not in order. In other words, to be truly, successfully wealthy and good person, you should have dharma as the basis, righteousness. On the basis of dharma, you create material values and flourish, get fame, name, all that. But if dharma is there, you have prosperity. But masses, their mind turned to gaining prosperity, gaining fame by hook or by crook. The idea comes, if I have a lot of money, I can do anything else. Money becomes important. When money is important, then you ignore the experience of your inner peace. You ignore the qualities that could have made you internally rich. And that's a tremendous loss that people don't see. That's called sakamya. You are led by desire. If you follow the spiritual path, you turn to niskamya. Your karma that you do, with the karma you add vikarma. Vikarma is specialized attitudes. To give you in a simple way, if you plan your life, daily life, beginning with some meditation, doing some japa, getting deeper into study of scriptures, all these are to be blended in your life in moderation. Never turn to extreme. Because when you turn to extreme, then you will not maintain that practice for a long time. That's one of the greatest statements in the Gita. And as you go on doing your sadhana, subtle stream of internal peace supports you during the day. At deeper level within your heart, you begin to develop a feeling. The works you do they are like flowers being offered to God. And the result that you seek from God is your inner peace. Your mind is fully aware that any external result is superficial. And you become deeply interested in gaining inner joy, an inner sense of coming close to God. I'm saying those things very quickly, but these are very profound experiences. And you gradually allow yourself to draw these profound experiences of devotion. But all the things you do that can make your sakamya karma turn into nishkamya, they are called vikarmas, specialized karmas. Japa, study of scriptures, practice of meditation, developing devotion, developing different attitudes that allow your mind to become magnanimous. So when karma is blended with vikarma, the result is akarma. Akarma means there is no more. You are not creating karma. Now we'll conclude with great highlights of the Gita is description of two paths, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana. If you have followed spirituality in your path in a right way, at the time of death, fire god leads you. This is very highly figurative. Implies that even until the time of death, your karma, your performance of action continues. It may not be exactly the same type, but even in an aging state, your mind is there, your goodwill is there, and you continue to do things good for all. And then you are guided by the light of the sun. The light of the sun relates to viveka, discrimination, increasing clarity. The deity of the day guides you, which implies you remain healthy in your mind, and to the extent possible, your performance continues. Performance of duty. The deity of Shukla Paksha, the bright half of the month, that guides you. Bright half of the month relates to the heart that is free of vasanas, the sky that is free of dark clouds. The beauty of the sky expands during the wintry weather. In other words, your bhavana, your feeling begins to expand. And then you are led by 6 months when the sun turns to north. That means daytime goes on increasing until you come to the longest day. Now, it relates to consciousness. In the beginning, your consciousness is limited by the senses. Expands, it comes to the realm of mind. It expands, it comes to this realm of intellect. It expands and comes to the realm of divine consciousness. Your consciousness goes on expanding. Expanding light until you are nothing but the light. You become liberated. All that doesn't happen at the time of death, but you are going on creating it in your day-to-day life. As Vairagya develops, fire is developing in you. As Viveka develops in you, discriminative intellect, there is the daytime, the sun god is shining in you. And so forth. Devotion, wisdom. Ultimately, you end up with liberation. Liberation can come in any time during the life. You don't have to wait until the death. But if suppose it delayed for some reason and occurred only at the time of death, you have not lost anything. You are liberated. And with this I will conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.